First, I'll go over with Bill, because I've really downplayed him. Bill Cipher is a two-dimensional being. As he described the world, he came from his flat, and he first destroyed his own universe after escaping it. This isn't that impressive as a feat because that universe is 2D, and there are several 2D universes in Gravity Falls. However, he is easily planetary to galaxy level. As it stated, he fought with Time Baby in the Nightmare Realm. Their battle destroyed multiple planets, and when the kid got kicked out of the Nightmare Realm, he crashed into Earth, which causes the KT extinction event. Bill also states that he can make two planets kisses each other just by pushing them. He's implied to be able to destroy galaxies, capable of granting both brothers their own galaxies, and he's stronger than beings who can burn the entire universe. As for higher ends, Ford and Time Baby both stated that Bill is a threat to the multiverse. It is stated multiple times, even Bill himself states, that he's capable of destroying the entire Gravity Falls multiverse, which contains an infinite amount of universes, alternate universes, and timelines. This grants him multiversal plus level. The rifts he created are capable of folding the multiverse with the Nightmare Realm, which is a lawless, infinite-sized space between worlds. He then fought Shaktran, which was empowered by the interdimensional portal, which is powerful enough to shake the Nightmare Realm, which is stated to be a 5-dimensional space. As Ford needed higher dimensional calculus to create the interdimensional portal, which works as a gateway between our dimension and the Nightmare Realm. Furthermore, the Nightmare Realm would be hyperversal, as the Gravity Falls multiverse contains 7 to 11 dimensional spaces, and the Nightmare Realm is the highest plane in the verse, making it 12-dimensional or hyperversal. Now, I have seen many people saying he's a fraud because the 11D aliens got killed by a ship crashing on Earth, which I don't see how this affects the dimensions of the verse. Just because they are stated to be higher dimensional beings doesn't mean they would be superior to lower ones, because in fiction, many higher dimensional beings can still be weaker than lower dimensional ones. Only the size of the dimensions is relevant to the verse, rather than the power of its beings. But then they also claim that Bill got bullied by a 3D robot, but they forget that it was empowered by the portal, which was powerful enough to shook the entire Nightmare Realm. So he's definitely not a fraud at all. As for his speed, Bill is stronger than his minions, who punched that kid so hard that it sent him to a different period of time. He's stated to be beyond chronology, and after killing that baby, he has full control over time. Therefore, he probably has immeasurable speed. Now, let's move on to Godzilla. And I'm using Godzilla in Hell plus few other versions like the movie games, etc. So, at worst, you can get Godzilla anywhere from Dwarf Star to Universal level, as both Godzilla and Space Godzilla have been shown to blowing up the entire planet, which reached the moon. And Godzilla didn't die from this explosion. Instead, he was teleported into heaven where he faced God Mountain. Cuz IDW itself confirmed that they're not allowed to kill him due to Toho's copyright laws, so he literally survived that explosion. He then fought Satan or Lucifer, who had merged with Space Godzilla. And after Godzilla being overpowered by Space Godzilla, he received a massive amp from God and angels, allowing him to one-shot Lucifer Godzilla, who had created that dimension where Godzilla and Space Godzilla were fighting in the first place. You can argue him being 5 to 6D, as the Space Godzilla he fought is stated to be the same as the movie one, who transcends the laws of physics and manipulates supergravity, which is superdimensional in nature. But then we know that Heisei verse contains several 4D spaces and realms that literally transcend the space-time of the universe, making supergravity at least 5 to 6D. However, he then one-shot God Mountain, who created the entire IDW Godzilla multiverse, which contains an infinite amount of universes, alternate dimensions, and timelines with various event changes and endings, with each issue sometimes being a different universe. Then you have Hell, Heaven, and the real world, which all are stated to be different space-time continuums. And Hell seems to be a macrocosm that contains several infinitely sized realms and infinite realms, making the verse at least multiversal plus. But the IDW Godzilla has canonically crossed over with Boom's Power Rangers, which also contains an infinite amount of universes and dimensions. But it contains beings like Draken, who shattered the morphing grid, which is the highest plane of existence and unbounded by the infinite Power Rangers multiverse, which makes both Draken and the grid 5D. Now, God Mountain views the entire cosmology as fiction, which makes both God and Godzilla 6D, as it's shown at the end of the issue that they both shares the same multiverse. Now some of you guys believe he never killed God Mountain, but only destroyed the portal, which is not true at all, as there are more consistent statements that says he replaced or killed God in that issue. Then the comic itself shows how Godzilla becomes God after killing the creator of the cosmology. Then there are also symbolic meanings like the Jesus cross, which would stand for most of the issue but fell and cracked after Godzilla killed God. Even if you still believe he never killed God Mountain, he literally fought beings like Ghidorah, Destoroyah, and God Demon, who are stated to be stronger than God Mountain. And after killing God Demon, he became so strong that nothing from the verse can beat him. Furthermore, he would be outer to high outerversal, as God Mountain is stated to be absolute infinity, and there are representations of Neoplatonism, which are basically Platonic concepts. But then, it's multiple times confirmed by Toho themselves that every single Godzilla material is canon, and every Godzillas, like Heisei Showa, Millennium Reiwa, games anime, current Marvel, D&D, or any version in your mind, exist within the same movie Godzilla multiverse, which God Mountain sees as fiction. Since we know that the Toho Godzilla multiverse is a part of the IDW Godzilla cosmology, which is literally shown in the IDW comics, and Godzilla is capable of destroying his entire verse whenever he wants. But how strong are these Godzillas? So, first we have SRW Godzilla, who fought Anti-Spiral, a 10 to 11-dimensional being. And these dimensions are extra-dimensional and exist on a different dimensional axis. So he's probably high complex multiversal at best. Then there's the current Marvel Godzilla, who has fought with some current Marvel 616 characters like Thor, Hulk the Avengers, and X-Men, with issues set in different periods of time. Then there's Fortnite Godzilla, who is probably the strongest video game Godzilla in my opinion, as his atomic breath has a higher damage output than Goku's Kamehameha, which is stated to be the strongest thing Fortnite has ever seen. So this Goku is probably stronger than the Fraud Xeno or DBZ versions who have a bunch of wank outer stuffs. However, so this Goku's power is stated to be stronger than any previous Fortnite event, which means it upscales the Galactus event, where he was going to devour the 0 Point, which created the canon Marvel DC, God of War Godzilla, Dragon Ball Z Street Fighter, etc. multiverses. And Godzilla scales to the 0 Point that created the entire Omniverse, so he's easily outer to high outer. But then there's a D&D Godzilla, and I'm not talking about the Here There Be Dragons comic, which isn't even a crossover between Godzilla and D&D. This Godzilla literally different and exists in the D&D verse, which is an infinitely layered multiverse, and also contains several planes that all are infinitely layered. Then you also have the Far Realm, which is said to be beyond the concepts of dimensions, and the concepts of Dungeons and Dragons are nothing to the Far Realm. Furthermore, there's a being called Luminous who created the entire D&D cosmology, and everything was born from him, so he's pretty much outer to high outer at best. And Godzilla exists in the D&D multiverse because of the Armadillo games, and he's incapable of being killed by anything in the D&D multiverse, so he's also like outer to high outer. Now, all of this applies to Godzilla in Hell, as he one-shot God Mountain, who sees every Godzilla as fiction, and Godzilla is capable of destroying his entire cosmology, which also makes him outer to high outer at best. Speed-wise, he scales to God Mountain, who is beyond stuffs like time, and is stated to be omnipresent. Now, Godzilla killed God Mountain and took his power into his new base, so he is also omnipresent too, I guess. So, in conclusion, who would win this fight? And I would say it's Godzilla, as he's stronger than Bill in terms of power. But considering their hacks abilities, Bill have precognition, reality warping, soul manipulation, time manipulation, quantum manipulation, and the ability to manipulate laws, cause, and effect. He's made of pure energy, regeneration, cosmic awareness, fourth wall breaking, sealing, dimensional travel, absorption, etc. As for Godzilla, he will power manipulation, reactive evolution and adaptation, soul manipulation, invulnerability, high godly regeneration, and he scales above God Mountain. Who have conceptual manipulation, causality, dualism, and non-dualism manipulation. Godzilla has resistance to power nullification, existence erasure, and plot manipulation, as he scales above beings who can manipulate Hell's narrative. But he also scales to D&D, which has stuffs like precognition, resistance negation, conceptual erasure, space-time manipulation, etc., and he can survive anything which Bills throws at him. There's also so many stuffs from D&D, Heisei, and other verses, but I think it's already enough. And I think Godzilla can easily win this fight with negative difficulty, as he have better hexes, scales higher than his entire cosmology, which scales pretty much in an outer to high outer. Nothing much else to say. But what you guys think? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time.